Now, so there's a couple of more things I wanted to cover, and then we can open up the floor. Things that people are really dealing with right now that I think are really important. Okay? Let's go back to something that I said many times, and then I stopped for a while. You need to go back to, because I know we're dealing with very challenging life events. You need to go back to, you are primarily responsible. You are primarily responsible for all aspects of your life, okay? Yes, there's a creator to go to. Yes, there's a Messiah to turn to. Yes, there's a structure to turn to, but you are primarily responsible. That means you have to, if you want them or the structure, any of those things, you have to still approach them. You have to seek it out. There's things you have to still do. You're primarily responsible. I know a lot of people get all mad at us because, well, you guys, how come you guys never reach out to me? How come you guys, who knew you had a problem? Okay? You're primarily responsible for all aspects of your life, your health, your wealth, your emotional state, your social life, your spiritual state. You are primarily responsible for all aspects of all of those areas of your life. That doesn't mean there's no help for you. In an area you need help in, you recognize what you need and go start to seek the help. I wrote this down. This is something that I've done my whole life, but most of you have never even thought to do. You need to first be honest and open with yourself and recognize your failings, what you struggle with. And then you need to become expert at your struggle. Not expert at struggling, but expert at the thing. Like if you struggle with anger, you need to become an expert about what causes anger, how to overcome anger, how to deal with anger. If you're if you're a problem with anxiety, you become an expert at anxiety, how to deal with anxiety, how to overcome anxiety, you know what I'm saying? Become an expert in your shortcoming. You can seek experts. How do you become an expert? You need to be on an educational journey. Some of you think, well, I graduated college or high school. That was the end of my schooling. No. You need to be educating yourself every day, all the time, in things in life that you need to understand. And one of the things that will help you the most is being an expert in what you struggle with. So come ask me about it. That's helpful. I may recommend books to you. Read them. Go out and find your own books. Go read them. Go find videos, seminars. YouTube has almost anything you ever want on there, and somebody teaching about it. Some of it will be good. Some of it will be awful. Go in with an open mind to that it could be good or awful. If it's awful, turn it off. If it's good, keep listening. Then go find the next one. Use the supermarket approach, I call it, because I go down a supermarket aisle. Let's say I'm in the cereal aisle, but I only like 3 of them. I leave the other 37 of them on the shelf. I don't grab just any box. I know the 3 I like. And I'm only looking for what I'm looking for, right? Okay? Or maybe you're kind of hungry, you don't know exactly what you want, but you're walking down the aisle and you're knowing that something, no, that's not it, but you know what you're looking for. So when you look at a book, or when you listen to a video, okay, and you're watching some video, whatever, you're looking for certain things, and that's all you want. The rest of it you leave on the shelf. I have so many books that I can't even tell you that I only liked them because it had one idea that I liked, but it was a good one. I mean, it was a really valuable good one. The rest of the book was junk. But I got what I was looking for. So if I spent $10 on that book, it was worth every penny. If I got one good idea, if I got 2, 3, 4, 5, that's like a bonus. Okay? You get a book that's great all the way through, it's like hitting the lottery. So I value that, okay? But you need to become expert and commit to educating yourself. Well, I don't know what to do, where to start. Then find somebody that's expert and ask them for help. And they will recommend to you things to go and do and things like that. But you need to start looking it up. You know, all you got to do is look up your problem on the internet. You'll find plenty of information. Whatever your problem is, it's all over the internet. Somebody's talking about it. But a lot of it's, woo, out there somewhere, and a lot of it's probably real useful. You have to have discernment and try to figure it out. Maybe go find somebody to coach you through whether something was good or bad, but you need to understand that you are primarily responsible for all aspects of your life. I appreciate that a lot of you will call me up who do, but by the way, be patient when I ask you about 8 minutes in, 10 minutes in, but what does this have to do with me? But what does this have to do with me? And it's not what does it have to do with me. In other words, why are you calling me? This is your problem in your life and your thing. It's not spiritual. It's not scriptural. See, I don't mind guiding you and helping you, but you have to first come to me and explain where your understanding is, where your weakness is, whatever it is. I'm trying to get to, well, what is the problem? I have anxiety. Oh, okay, now we understand the problem. So why are you coming to me? Well, I don't know what to do with it. Fine. Let me recommend some things you can go do, books you can read, videos you can watch, whatever. But let's understand that that's not my job. I appreciate that I have another aspect of my life called coaching and personal development that I can do, so I don't want you to not call me for these things, but recognize I'm going to encourage you to own it. Okay? Therapists are great, but you shouldn't live with them and need them like every day the rest of your life, okay? You should be able to go there, get some help, and then be able to go on. So when you come to me for guidance and therapy, I'm going to try to offload you onto your own as much as I can, as fast as I can, because you need to fix your problem, own your problem, and become expert. Does this make sense to everybody? Okay? Seek expertise as a part of your becoming an expert. Okay, you need to learn everything there is to know about whatever your challenge is. Well, I don't know how to get a career, and I don't know how to do this, and I don't know that. Go become an expert at it. Some of you wonder, Rabbi, how do you know so much stuff about so many things? Well, because I realized I didn't know anything about it, and I went and became an expert at it. So I read a lot, listened to a lot, watched a lot about those things. Found people that were experts, asked them a lot of questions. That's how. All right? And by the way, also I did an awful lot of things I really didn't like doing. And you've heard me, some of you have heard me going back far enough, I hated counseling. It was my least favorite thing to do. I actually enjoy it now. I appreciate the value and everything else. But part of it was because I wasn't expert at it. I didn't know what I was doing. This is 20 plus years ago. I knew I was being asked to do it. I was the rabbi. People expected me to do it. And I felt, the reason I guess I really hated it is because I really didn't feel like I was doing any good for anybody. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand it. But I studied it. And I practiced it. And guess what happens if you study and practice something? You get good at it. You got an anger issue, depression issue, anxiety issue, addiction issue, whatever it is, study it. Become expert in that area. Because guess what? Two things will happen. One is you'll fix your problem because you'll figure out tools that will work. The second thing, you'll actually be helpful to the next person who has the same problem that you can now guide and point to books and videos and things that were useful to you. So there's two benefits to this. But you got to start off with, you are primarily responsible for all aspects of your life. Own that statement. Look in the mirror and say, I am primarily responsible for all aspects of my life. I have to own that. Own your stuff. I have a problem with this, that, or the other. That's how Alcoholics Anonymous starts off, right? You have to stand up and admit you have a problem. So own the fact that you have a problem, but then commit to fixing it. You're not going to commit to fix something unless you first own it. Okay? I'm probably not going to be running over to your house to see if I can fix your car. I don't own your car. It's not mine. But I'm going to figure out what's wrong with mine and fix my car because I own my car. And guess what? When it doesn't work right, who does it mess with the most? Me. When your car doesn't work, it messes with you. It doesn't mess with me. So, own you. Take ownership. Learn how to fix you. Okay? You can come for guidance. I've studied almost all of this stuff, as many things as you can run into, is for 35, 45 years. Sure, I may be able to give you some quick, easy things that can help mitigate some of the problem while you're starting to study and learn about it. Okay? But it's just like say, for example, you had a child that is born with a handicap. you are probably going to become an expert in that handicap. If your child has, like say, for example, your child has a learning disability or like dyslexia, or your child is autistic, or your child is whatever it is, or has some sort of physical motor skill problem, you're going to become the expert in how to help them overcome their challenge. Why would you do that for them and not for yourself? I know, because you love them more than you love yourself. You don't take care of yourself. You don't care enough about yourself. You know, we talk about loving Yahweh, loving neighbor. How about loving you? Well, I don't love me. I'm looking at, I know what kind of a piece of whatever I am. But you do for your kid, you'll do for your spouse maybe, you'll do for somebody else, but you need to do this for you. All right? Anyway, that was all I had on my paper. Was that hopefully useful? Because I think that's where we're at. All right, so now if you have comments or questions on what I talked about today.
I hope I phrased this correctly. Going all the way back to when you first started, you were talking about Hanukkah, okay, and how they were actually Jews who were Hellenized by the Greeks, correct? Okay, my question is, because I look at that and I go, having come from the other side of the fence, we'll put it, looking at that, there are so many similarities, okay, that it's almost like counterfeit, okay? I'm going to say Christianity is counterfeit, okay? Is there a possibility, because you've said yourself many times, their bubble hasn't been burst,
right.
Okay? Is there a possibility that many of those Christians are really Hellenized Jews?
Well, look, I mean, you got to understand that the Hellenization thing was a little bit different because today you have what you have because people are raised the way they're raised. I mean, you just know what you know because that's what you were raised. I mean, if you were born into a Catholic house, you were raised Catholic. You were born into a Jewish house, you were raised Jewish, whatever it is. Then he gets us to the point where we actually make our own choice instead of just being whatever we were raised. The Hellenization problem was more of a reverse of what Abba intended Israel to be. In other words, the Greeks didn't come in to convert the Jews to the Greek mindset. The Greeks were doing it amongst the Jews, and the Jews were enticed by it. They were drawn to it. Okay, they found it appealing. That's what Israel was supposed to be from the other side of it, to be Torah observant, covenanted, and be appealing to others and say, what do you have? You seem to have peace. You seem to have success. You seem to be doing well in life. What's your secret? Okay? And so there was not an influx of conversion, evangelists for the Hellenization of the Jews. They brought their culture into that area, and in living it out, it was very enticing to those around them to then join with. That's where Christmas came into the Catholic belief system. Easter came in because it was something that they felt like, well, maybe we can bring that in because it's attractive to us in some way. This is the whole do not do as they do. All right? So I would probably address it more that way. Okay? But just got to remember that as opposed to like Islam or early Christianity with crusades and with all these other inquisitions and things trying to force people into a belief system, that wasn't happening with the Greeks. The Greeks just brought it around and it was appealing to people. Okay? Okay, Christianity does that now. It wasn't what they were doing originally. Okay, originally they were forcing it on people. Okay, a whole different sort of deal. Okay? So where we are today does sort of match more up because people might find certain things. Well, actually, it may be more like why people then go into some of these other belief systems out there. If they leave this, is because they find something appealing. Okay? Because it's their perception that they have something you want or you need and that what you actually want and need is not here. And we need to make sure that we're addressing and seeing that everything you need is right here. All right, Steve?
All right. I had a comment or a question. Maybe you could speak a little bit more. You talked about in relationships making agreements, but shouldn't we work on trust and respect? Because don't you need to have trust that somebody's going to keep their agreement? Wouldn't that be one of the number one things people come to when the agreement's broken? They felt the trust is broken or they're not respected?
Well, okay, absolutely. Is this the thing you jumped across to reach to get a pen for? I watched him all of a sudden like scrambling to grab a pen to write something down. I said something, I was wondering, what did I say there? He's like grabbing for a pen. I was watching you. Okay, so look, this is a peripheral part of the whole deal. You shouldn't probably be making an agreement. You should not actually, generally you're not going to make an agreement with someone you don't trust. Okay? Now, you may make an agreement with somebody that's more of a surface level agreement, meaning it's not requiring a deep relationship to have an agreement. Like you with a vendor, okay? I pay you, I expect you to deliver the service or product that I'm working with. So that doesn't require a whole lot of trust, but there is some trust there. You know, a lot of us do online purchasing now, and we expect that if we buy something online, it'll actually show up at our door. That's actually a lot of trust. I mean, we used to walk into a building, hand somebody money, and have the product in our hand as an exchange for the money. And so that we knew we were going to get our thing. Now we order online, and we expect it to show up. So there's some trust in there, okay? And so if there's a breach of trust, and the breach of trust explains the level of the actual relationship. Because remember, agreements are a part of a relationship, and the relationship is going to be based on the level of trust or not. So it kind of all plays in together, okay? So based on the kind of relationship, there may be a requirement for more or less trust in order to even have the relationship, okay? So to get married, that requires a lot of trust because you're going to be spending, theoretically, I mean, the intention is to spend forever together. Well, that requires a lot of trust. Of course, we don't really think of it that way when we're busy trying to get married. Okay? We're thinking about just that we desire that person and we want to spend time with them and whatever. We're not thinking about the trust level. Okay? Okay, Janet?
Thank you, Rob. I have a question about the do not do as I do on holidays. Mm-hmm. So when interacting with my parents, after they're Catholic, and they obviously are busy now preparing for the day of the 25th, what would you suggest when they start to tell me about all their plans and what they're doing? Even with my clients, I have most of my clients are Christian clients. They bring things like that into whenever we talk. So I don't want to be agreeing with them, but at the same time I have to listen to them. But what will be your recommendation on how to deal with this conversation?
Look, listening to what other people are doing, seeing what other people are doing, is not the problem, just as long as you're not participating, okay? So if mom wants to call you up, and you know how important this is to mom, and she wants to tell you about the tree they put up and the decorating they're doing, and like, that's great, Mom. I'm glad you're happy, and that's your thing. It's not your thing, but you understand that's where she's at, okay? Okay? And I would say that's the same thing as like my having no interest in a friend of mine that may be let's say they're an automobile, remodeling person. So they're going to tell me all about how they just got this new thing and they put in this new gearbox and they put this new this in and I don't care, okay? It's not my thing, but I'm not going to be happy. Okay, I'm glad you're happy. That was your thing. So I don't participate in it. It's not my thing, but I can listen and be respectful and say, okay, I'm glad life is good for you, Mom, and you're happy with your thing, okay? That's not you encouraging it or participating in it. It's recognizing that's her thing. Okay, so she's telling you about what she's doing, okay? And that's fine. All right, look, just remember that I didn't cover this a whole lot, but I covered it hopefully enough. When I talked about honoring and not shaming and respecting other people and having them respect you, you need to learn how to respectfully decline when family members, look, maybe you and your spouse are on the same page, but your children who are adults with your grandchildren invite you over for Christmas something or other. Well, you got to find a way to say, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Look, my recommendation is this. If they are being honest that it's about family time, then offer them an alternative. Don't just say no. Have something ready. Say, look, I appreciate, because you know they're going to invite you. Maybe they invite you every year, so you know. Then say, hey, listen, I appreciate all that. I know that you want to spend family time. This is not something that I can participate in for whatever reason it is. And then you say, because you just have to figure out how you talk to your own children, but say, hey, look, but I appreciate that this is family time, and traditionally this is what we have done. When I used to participate with you, it was all about family. How about, in January or whatever it is, February, we're going to plan a time that we'll have off and we can get together and we'll have a family dinner or whatever it is. Disconnect it from this particular holiday. And the way to disconnect it is to do it after, not before. Because before, there'll still be the tree, there'll still be the decoration, all these things that they tend to do starting like October. They start so early now, okay? So do it after they will have taken those things down and put it all away, etc. But have something ready to offer as an alternative, okay? Does that make sense? Okay? The big point I just made was, this is coming. How about thinking through what you might do in advance? Don't just try to react at the moment. How about thinking about it a little bit? That phone call's coming, or that card in the mail inviting you, or whatever it is. Okay? Think about it in advance. Well, how are you going to respond? Be ready for it. All right, Shira.
I came into Torah quite a few years ago. Well, I'm in 8th grade. When I moved here and came into Beth Shalom, I was so determined to leave behind my Christian family and all their trappings, and they didn't really understand where I was at. So I very sadly one day went through my whole file box full of old family photographs and threw them all away. I needed to take really decisive action. In that time, Father has given me favor.
Well, hold on, let me interrupt. When you're listening to somebody speaking, this is just a general thought for all of you. Don't get distracted by you would or would not do what they did. Listen to what she's saying about why she did what she did, because this is her decision that she needed to do at that time for herself, and it may not be what you would do. And so don't judge it, don't have an issue with it. You weren't her at that moment with her life and her experiences. Okay? Continue.
Thank you. So now we are here years later. My 2 sisters and brother-in-law have become very open to accepting where I'm at in Torah, and we've come to be quite close again, and closer than ever, really. My mom is 102. She's in a nursing home. She's fading. And we're all really trying to prepare ourselves to lose her. So this is a time when our family closeness really means a lot to us. The dear middle sister just emailed me a whole huge collection of Christmas pictures of the family. And I'm sitting there going, there's probably pictures in there of Mom that I don't have anymore. And now I'm much stronger. I've changed. I think I could look at these pictures without it bothering me a whole lot, just the way I now can walk into a store and I just tune out the music. It doesn't bother me.
Well, excellent.
But I want to be sure, I haven't looked at them yet, I want to be sure I would not be dishonoring Father.
No, look, these are just, remember, we live in reality. The reality is that those things were part of your life then, even if there were pictures of you doing that stuff then. And you're not looking at them to have the warm, fuzzy memories of the event, but you're looking at them to say, wow, look at Mom, look at my sister, it's about the people. And the pictures are to help you, for the people. Now, there are other times when we have pictures to help you remember events. But if you're looking at it because your connection with the people, in that case, you're looking at it from a different point of view. Okay? All right? And so, especially because you know that you were in a different place and you purged that out, that Abba's giving you another access to it now, or allowing you to have it. I don't think it's any test about respecting him, based on the way you would approach it. It wouldn't be like you're going to sit there and reminisce and be all fondly, remembering the event, right? But it's about having a picture. Okay? All right, next. Live stream.
One question is, what about birthdays? I only know of King Herod celebrating his birthday, and the cake blown out candles are like spells or incarnations.
All right. There are more birthdays mentioned in Scripture Okay, and there's some things that don't go very well on a couple of birthday celebrations, but there is no scriptural anywhere, anything, I'm sorry to the Jehovah's Witnesses out there, but there's nothing in here that says that birthdays are against Torah, against Yahweh, against anything, all right? So now, you got to think about why you're doing a birthday and what you're doing with it and how self-possessed. I know some people that are brutally, they're almost like, how they have the saying about like a bridezilla? I know people that have like birthday zillas. They are brutal. You got to treat them a certain way and you got to do all this stuff. It's all about them in a very bad and ugly way, okay? No problem acknowledging the passing of time, especially significant passages like turning 50 or turning 25 or turning 20 when you become an adult according to Scripture. There's, becoming a teenager. You're from 12 to 13, now you're a teenager, right? Recognizing significant milestones, I think, is certainly appropriate. Okay? Next question.
Good. All right, Rabbi, is getting baptized before marriage a tradition, and why should we do this?
Is getting baptized before marriage a tradition?
Correct.
Yes, it's a tradition. And it's you have to understand why they're doing it, okay? So when you're asked the question, why should we do it? It's not why should you do it, just understand why they're doing it, and you decide whether or not you should do it or whether you'd want to do it. It's supposed to be, okay, baptism, you have to understand what baptism is. It's a change of status from tameh to tahor. So you're going from unclean to clean. So it's about ritual status change. So you're going from single to married. I would recommend somebody mikvah if they lose their spouse or if they get divorced, and now you've gone from married to single. Okay, I went and did it when I went from lay employee person out in the world to rabbi, to leading a congregation. It's a change of status. Next question.
All right, this has to do with new moon. Are we going against Torah by selling and buying on the new moon? He's referring to Amos 8:5, saying, when will the new moon be over that we may sell grain?
Okay, Amos is probably talking about trumpets. There's no scripture anywhere telling you that the new moon is a Sabbath, okay? There is one new moon we know is a Sabbath, that's trumpets. Okay, so you can buy and sell on the new moon. You can go to work, you can do anything. The whole point is that you recognize it is the new moon and celebrate the fact that time is moving forward in the plan of salvation through the holy days, etc. So the only thing it tells us about the new moon is to celebrate it. Okay.
All right. Pete Lamb asks about St. Patrick's Day as far as being suitable to acknowledge or celebrate.
No. Look, any kind of, okay, I should have been more clear then. Any of the level 2 traditional things must be, I think I covered this to some degree, not connected to anything in terms of a religious observance or religious figures that are not of even the ones of scriptures. We don't do celebrations to Abraham or to Isaac or to Jacob or any of those things, okay? They're national, secular observances to the culture, etc. Saying something that St. Patrick already makes it Saint Patrick, which is Catholic, and it's the whole thing, okay? So we're not doing anything that's connected to any religious belief system or observances or those kind of things, okay? There are no religious observances connected with, Labor Day or Memorial Day, okay, or 4th of July. These are simply acknowledgments of a national event that had happened that we're memorializing in some way, okay? So no St. Patrick's Day.
All right, it's a comment that leads to a question here. It says, I'm not sure if I want to get married if where I live, I won't be my house, but my husband's. How does it work today when the woman helps pay for the house as well, if not all of it?
All right, you've got to come into an agreement with your husband how that's going to work out and how that's looked. There are people out there where the wife makes more than the husband, and they've agreed that that's okay, and they have an agreement on how that's going to look. When I say it's his house, I'm not talking about who paid for it. It's probably the bank's house most of you live in anyway, okay? Only a small percentage of people actually at this point own their house. The bank owns your house, but it has to do with the authority structure of the house, okay? He is the sovereign of the house. That's the marriage agreement between husband and wife. So it has more to do with that. Now, you need to understand, to all of you out there, if you, as the man, are not the primary provider, meaning that you can provide without any help from your wife, not to say that she can't help and not to say that she shouldn't, and not to say that she can't make more than you. You have got to work out between the two of you how that does or does not affect the way she looks at you or the way you look at her. Because that is going against the programming in your body and in your mind and in your heart. And so I find that when women are primary providers, or women are the ones that bought or paid for all these things, there tends to be challenges in that whole vertical alignment and the way that relationship works at home. So I'm not saying it can't work, you just have to agree. You have to talk about it. Okay, I'm the husband. My wife, let's say, has a career that makes a ton of money, better than whatever I have a career with, and she likes working, because I know people like this. But we can agree, though, that I still maintain the headship and the decision-making authority while still allowing that she's the one that runs out and does the work and makes more money than I do, and I would be the house husband who does things with the kids or homeschools or whatever it is. Whatever we agree to. But the other part of it has to be agreed to also, to understand that just because you're making more money doesn't give you now the decision-making authority and flipping the whole thing on its ear and upside down. That's not going to be good for anybody, okay? And I can tell you, my wife and I had times in our marriage where she made more than I did. And without consciously thinking any differently, it affected the way we behaved. Because you can't help it if you're the woman or whoever in the relationship going, look, if you have kids and they start making their own money, the conversation at some point goes, but it's my money. Why can't I do what I want with my money? And the husband says, but I'm the decision maker. No, you can't. And you look at him, but I'm the one who makes the money. Now you got to fight. Okay? Which is why I'd rather the husband be able to be primary provider, so you meet all the basic needs, and let her do whatever she wants with her money, to whatever degree. But you have to agree about it. So I don't want everybody going, Rabbi said I could do whatever I want with the money. No, you got to agree to that. Get myself in trouble here. All right? It has to be whatever you agree to. There was a time when I was providing, and I told my wife if she wanted to work, she could use the money, do what she wanted with it, because I didn't need it for what we were doing for the basic needs, etc. All right? But that has to be through your agreement. Okay? So it's not like emasculating and dishonoring for the man to not make the money and not be the one that paid for whatever. But you have to agree with your spouse how you're going to make other decisions, do other things as far as your proper vertical structure. Does that make sense now? Okay, next question.
All right, if a family decides to create their own tradition of having a fun day of special food and gifts given to their children, but not in December, would that still be breaking Torah?
No, I mean, look, it depends on what's motivating you. Are you just trying to give them a different Christmas? That's a whole different thing, okay? If you already just want to have some sort of, look, if you do birthdays, which not everybody does, then give them a present for their birthday. Just say, here's a gift. This is the day I like to give you a gift, because you're a gift that God gave me. So I give you a gift too. Whatever it is. You can find your excuses. Like I told you, when my mother, if she gives me gifts for the children for Hanukkah, because she does it that way, even though we don't, I've told her I will give them to the children anytime but Hanukkah. Grandma loves you, it's Thursday. Here, have a present. Okay? You laugh, but I've done that, okay? But just be careful, are you trying to emotionally pacify the Christmas thing? You know what? I get my children gifts. You know when? When I have a thought to get them a gift. When something comes up that they want, that I know they want, that I can afford to get, or I see it there, and I see something I know they would like, I know a lot of you do this too. You get gifts for people on a regular basis. You happen to be in a store, you see something, oh, I know so-and-so would just love this, blah, blah, and you buy it for them. Why don't we just do that? Why do we have to have a day for giving gifts? Because you're emotionally tied to Christmas or birthdays. And just so you know, I mean, I don't do anything, make a big deal about my birthday. Not because I'm against it, just because I don't get the whole point. See, mothers, you're all going to like this. I think that you should be taken out on your birthday, on your child's birthday by your child. Because what did they do? Pop out? And start screaming? You did all the work. When they get older, they should take you out on their birthday. Thank you, Mom, for tolerating me for however many years. You know? Why should they get taken out of it? Why? Look, in the Jewish culture, by the way, the reason you don't see a lot of, or Israel, Hebrew culture, you don't see a lot of birthday stuff in Scripture for one reason. Because they have a tradition of celebrating life after you've accomplished and done something. When you're born, you haven't done anything. So they make more of a deal when you die about acknowledging what that person had done, about their life, than they do the fact that you were born and you hadn't done anything yet. Okay? So that's why you don't see it in Scripture, not because there's anything against it. It's kind of a pointless, self-indulgent thing. I don't, you know. So I don't make a big deal about it, okay? One year I made a big deal. I wanted a surprise birthday party. So I hinted at it, joked at it, teased about it, never thought they'd ever actually do it, and then they did. Yeah, you were there for that. It was at Torah Study. I didn't expect it. It showed up, and then Torah Study turned into a surprise birthday party for me. But of course, half the people were convinced I knew it was coming because I kept joking about it all up until it was happening. Never thinking for a second they were actually going to do it.
At least 50 times.
Oh, at least 50 times. It was my 50th birthday. But, you know, I just wanted to see what it would be like to have a surprise party, so I thought I was going to have to actually throw one for myself. Otherwise, I'd never get one. But man, you got to know, I talked about it a lot until finally the guys decided to do it. But they were not sure if I knew about it or not. But I was surprised. It actually worked out. I did not expect it. Next question.
All right. How do the feasts transform us into the image of Yeshua?
The feasts don't do anything. No piece of Torah itself does anything specific to say this transfers you. It's the whole process of changing your mindset, your focus, your heart, your behavior into the imitation of Yeshua that transforms you into Yeshua. Okay? Not eating pork doesn't transfer you into Yeshua, just that one act. Keeping Sabbath, just that one act doesn't, like a piece of you now changes to be like Yeshua. It's the living a lifestyle of submission and trust of Yahweh that transforms you into Yeshua. Okay? So there's not like, hey, I did this and now my pinky is now more like Yeshua, or my thumb, or it's not like something changed me that much into Yeshua. It's the whole package of Yeshua saying, I only, in my full love, trust, and belief in my Father, only do everything He says, because I know that everything He says is right. And the more we do like that, the more we become like Him. Okay, so it's not feast keeping that makes you Yeshua-like. It's submission to Yahweh, which in submission, part of that is feast keeping. What feast keeping does is it teaches you about Yeshua, the plan of salvation, these other things. But keeping them is a relational, covenantal submission. That's when you become like Yeshua. Did that answer the question, hopefully? All right.
All right, next one is, what about celebrating New Year's?
Okay, look, I again have no problem with doing things that acknowledge passage of times, milestones, that kind of thing. Okay, so come December 31st, if you want to have a little party and recognize that we're now going from 2020 to 2021 in a world that uses that calendar and that time, listen, you can deny that calendar all you want, but you live in the world that's how you keep time. Okay? And you are going to keep time that way. You're going to write that year on your checks. You're going to do whatever you're going to do. On all your documents, are still going to say 2021 when we get to January 1st. Now, if you want to acknowledge, look, we do that with Rosh Kodeshes. We acknowledge the passage of time. Those are monthly cycles. Well, we have an annual cycle that we all live in, even though it's the world cycle. If you want to have a celebration or a party for that, that's fine. It's not worshiping a god. It's not going against anything in Torah. It's not anything religious in its nature. You're simply saying it's now the next year. We're counting in time. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Okay? Now, don't use it as an excuse to just get drunk off your whatever and act stupid. And it's about having a gathering of people that might say, hey, wow, time is moving. Can you believe it's already 2021? I can't believe it's already like Hanukkah now. It's already December. Seems like, we're missing out on Passover and starting to plan Sukkot. Next thing, it's already the end of the year. Oh, no, it's not the year. Okay, well, it's the year we all live in this world. Okay? So if you want to have something to do on New Year's, we may do something here. I don't know whatever we're going to do. If we do something, we're going to do it in well-behaved manner, which didn't necessarily happen the last time we tried. Okay? There were those that decided to drink a whole lot more than I would have approved. Well, because it wasn't organized necessarily by me, okay? But those people are not here that organized it last time, okay? So, all right, next question.
Can we fast on holy days?
You can fast anytime.
As Rabbi, you mentioned the golden calf history shows that during the time of Moshe, it was the era of Taurus, and many Egyptians used to worship the bull. Could this be the reason for the golden calf?
Well, the full answer, the full statement you made, the answer to that is yes. Look, they definitely used a bull or a calf as different gods. I'm just saying is that they were not claiming it was one of those gods. They were claiming it was Yahweh. The verse says, this is Yahweh your Elohim who brought you out of Egypt. And they pointed to the calf, okay? That's the bigger part of the problem there. That do not do as they do. Don't try to worship me using their stuff. So it wasn't a straight rejection of Yahweh to go back into idol worship. They created an idol and claimed that idol was him. That's actually worse, okay? But yes, there were plenty of bull type of gods that they could have, been mimicking for that.
All right, is it okay to take advantage of sales that are on Christmas and other pagan holidays?
Absolutely. I wait to buy everything this time of year.
All right, next one. The African-American tradition of...
Wait, I think this is great.
I'm sorry.
Never mind, I'm not going to do it. I just think it's great that they asked a Jew this question, that's all. Okay, see, I did go there.
All right. Yeah.
Take advantage of a sale? Of course I do. What are you, my sugar? It's on sale, I'm going to be there. No, I'm kidding. Such a deal. Oh, those guys, they want to put it on sale for their stupidity? Okay, I'll do it. I'll take advantage. See what you did? It's your fault. Go ahead, next.
Yeah.
Switch the subject, change things.
African-American tradition of celebrating Kwanzaa involves having a feast and giving gifts on the 6th day of New Year's Day. Is that okay?
We're not doing any of these other Christmas-related alternative deals by other cultures and things like Kwanzaa. Okay? No.
All right. Did Yahweh command the leader of the Jewish...
And by the way, hold on. Let me just say, that includes not treating Sukkot like Christmas, because I know a lot of people started giving gifts during Sukkot. Stop trying to still have your Christmas. Okay? That's, let's stop trying to find a different way to have it, but not have it. Don't call it, Kwanzaa, call it Christmas, call it this, call it, stop, whatever it is that you want to call it, or Festivus for the rest of us. I know what shows you used to watch. Mr. Costanza. Okay. All right, so let's not spin the thing so that you can still have your cake and eat it, so to speak. We're not doing that. All right, next question.
All right. Did Yahweh command the leader of the Jewish revolt to revolt, or did they do it on their own?
There is no place where you see Yahweh commanding it. And it ends up being a problem in a lot of ways, because we end up having a change of priesthood to a wrong priesthood. There's all kinds of things that don't go well with that whole deal. Okay? But Yahweh allows it, for sure. He let that whole thing play out the way it did.
All right, this is a wordy one. So, Rabbi, if the beginning of the month is a crescent moon, which is a new moon, and a solar eclipse only happens 2 or 3 days before the new moon during a dark phase, then how is it that during the Passover when Yeshua died, there was a solar eclipse if it was the middle of the month? It says, Elamim said he detested our Sabbath holidays, new moons, and in Babylon, they made people start their days at night, and that Nimrod was referred to as the sun while Ishtar was the crescent. Is this why?
Okay, I didn't understand almost any of that. Okay, but you have to understand that the holy day that Passover is there with unleavened bread is on a full moon. Okay? So I don't know what the rest of that was about trying to figure out crescent moons and dark moons and everything else, which would have been the argument 14 days earlier. Okay? Whether they started it on the crescent or the dark moon, because that's always a big argument, conjunction versus crescent. That's a part of the calendar debate that people have out there. But we do have Passover falling on the full moon. Okay, so to have an eclipse of a full moon was not going to be a problem then, okay? Because the moon was full. Okay, next question.
When the counting of 72 hours begins at 3 p.m., let's go back to when Yeshua died. All right, so when the counting of 72 hours begins at 3 p.m., or the count start a few hours later when he was placed in the tomb. Yeshua said he would be in the tomb, heart of the earth, 3 days and nights.
Okay, look, you're talking about a difference of a few hours. It still puts you on Wednesday afternoon, and it still puts you rising on Saturday afternoon, okay? So it doesn't, change exactly the minute and the hour. We don't know, okay? But we do know that he was he was dead 72 hours, all right? And we also know that he arose whatever it was from when he started. So it certainly wasn't early in the morning. This point that's being made actually makes it a little bit later in the afternoon, but still makes it on the same day before the sun sets, because they had to get him into the grave before the sun set, okay? But the point was he was dead when he breathed his last before they took him down. And so we're counting his being dead 72 hours. If you want to extend that to when he was actually put into the ground, so to speak, or put in the cave, I don't know that makes any difference. Okay, so I don't have a problem with that. As long as we understand the whole point. The point is that this would have put it to sometime Saturday late afternoon, not Sunday morning. Okay? Next.
All right, let's make this the last question. Is it appropriate to send money to empty wife for benevolence at Purim?
Is it appropriate to send at Purim?
At Purim, yeah, benevolence.
I don't see I don't understand why there's a question about that. I mean, it's appropriate to send benevolence all the time, anytime. Benevolence is something that's not sort of linked or restricted to anything. So I'm not sure why the Purim thing. Oh, I know, because in Purim it said that they gave gifts and they gave to the poor. Absolutely would be appropriate. But I don't see how, giving benevolence is not linked to anything specifically. But since they did that in the book of Esther, sure, that would be appropriate. Okay? So I'm following that now. It was because in the book of Esther it says they gave gifts to the poor. Okay? Okay, good. All right, so that concludes. Do we have the children coming?